Alright, episode 4 of Skeleton Crew. This was another solid episode. We got some lore in this episode and some really nice moments between the kids to grow their characters. We got to see them bonding some and got to see some good moments from Fern and also some good moments from Neil in this episode as well. We also got to see why SM33 was on at Attin in the first place. And so far the show is shaping up pretty good and I'm very interested to see where it goes. With that said, let's get into episode 4. We begin the episode with the ship coming out of hyperspace and going down to a planet that appears to be at Attin. The planet is also surrounded by the green gases that were referred to as the barrier in previous episodes. The kids are excited as they approach the planet, and Jod is also very excited that Attin exists. As they enter the atmosphere, they see houses similar to the neighborhoods where they lived. As they are flying down, they get put into a autopilot landing sequence for a moment before SM33 overrides it and lands it himself. I'm not entirely sure why the landing sequence is there, but if I had to guess, I would guess that it was to land the ship as far away from any clues as possible, and I think we'll probably see why later. As the crew exits the ship, it becomes very apparent very quickly that something is off, as Neil notices first. They land near a playground and it appears rather old and weathered. The kids go off to explore the surroundings and have SM33 watch Jod back at the ship or babysit him as SM33 takes it. The kids go into a nearby house that has a full tree sitting in the main room. Neil says that whatever happened to this place happened a while ago because of how big the tree is. Wim goes on about a story of how they could have traveled 400 years without knowing it before Fern cuts him off. It is very clear that Wim still thinks that this is just a fun adventure while Fern is more concerned with getting back home. KB mentions that it is likely that they are on one of the other planets that are similar to Attin that were destroyed. Back on the ship, Jod is looking around and going through the kids' things and finds the credits that Wim was keeping. He gets excited by this for a moment before SM33 smacks him into a wall for being a thief and briefly seems confused as to who Jod is. 33 mentions that at Akron, the planet they are now on, is messing with his memory. Jod tries to get 33 to remember at Attin, but he still can't. Jod then goes to work trying to fix 33's memory. The kids explore around and find a statue. They bicker a bit before a random blast comes in and they duck and cover. Two other kids with some sort of stun batons ask what flag do they fly, and discover that these two kids are Troiks, one of the main factions of the planet. They all move to hide in an old bus as another group begins to come by. The group is a patrol of the other main faction of the planet, Hattins. Also in this scene, the main Troik girl uses a mirror to see where the patrol is, and it's on a literal selfie stick. Just thought that was kind of funny. Anyways, the group all moves out once the patrol is starting to get further away, and they go back to the Troik camp, which is within one of the old school buildings, which looks just like the ones on at Attin. It seems like the cityscape is pretty much a one-for-one copy between at Attin and at Akron, so I'm wondering if it is going to be that way for all the other planets as well. Once at the Troik base, the kids are forced to kneel before the leader, General Strix. Strix says that kids on this planet are regarded as adults. They accept the kids and say that they will help them if they can. They learn from Hana, the older Troik girl that found them, that there is a fallen sanctum that has coordinates from other planets and that one of them might be their home. Strix says that it is too dangerous to go there and they would have to prove themselves as warriors before being allowed to go out to the sanctum. Jod is still back at the ship trying to get 33 to remember anything about the treasure of Attin. They walk out the ramp of the ship and find that they are surrounded by Hattins, and Jod tells them to just shoot them. Back at the Troik base, the kids are going through some basic target practice with blasters. Neil doesn't seem to be super interested in learning to fight. Hana takes Neil up to the roof, and Neil sees the living conditions of the Troik. They get some rations, and Neil sees some other kids who are hungry and gives his food to them, and honestly, Neil is the best character. I don't really care what anyone else says. Hana shows Neil a giant artillery cannon that protects their base. Neil goes and talks about how things are on at Attin, and says how peaceful it is. Hana says that is pretty much the opposite on at Akron, and they have to fight for everything. Neil goes on about how he doesn't really understand fighting and that the easiest solution would be to just apologize and move on. We definitely get to see that Neil has a good heart, but he is also still just a kid and views things from a kid's viewpoint. He then goes on to talk about his brother and a little fight they got in about something silly. The other three kids are still back with the blasters, and KB is by far the best with the gun. Once Neil rejoins them, General Strix comes back and says that the kids will lead them into a battle in order to show them their strength. Once they are out on patrol, they get sent out first to engage the enemy that is coming towards them on the scanner. Neil specifically gets scared, and Hannah goes out with them and sticks with Neil. Though Neil is scared, he does ready his blaster when they hear a sound coming towards them. It turns out to just be Jod and 33 coming back with the stolen cattle from earlier. It turns out that Jod brought back the cattle and returned them to the Troik. Jod says that for his reward, he wants the kids back. The kids thank Jod, and he genuinely seems like he doesn't know how to take it. He definitely is not used to doing that sort of thing and receiving thanks for it. Hannah goes with them and begins to take them to the sanctum. On the way there, Jod explains how he bought the herd with some credits, and the kids realize that Jod stole the credits from Wim. They're a bit disappointed, but aren't too annoyed because he did save them with the money. Hannah doesn't continue with them, and Neil tries to get her to come home with them. Hannah says that she has to stay for her family, and when she's leader, maybe she can do some good and bring peace to the planet. She compliments Neil for being kind before she gives Neil a kiss on the trunk and heads back. The kids make it into the sanctum, which on Attin is the supervisor's tower. Once at the top, they find some columns that have coordinates and other hidden planets etched into them. They find several different planets before Neil finds the one for Attin. The coordinates are completely destroyed, and Neil questions who would do that before 33 says that it was him before his memory blips out again. Fern gets frustrated by this and runs off. Wim goes to Fern and calls her captain and asks her what to do. Fern is definitely lost and scared and just wants to be back home. She doesn't think that she's the right one to be a captain, and Wim tries to comfort her, but it really doesn't help. It does, however, help Fern to think of an idea to try, though. She runs the same memory overdrive that she runs on her home droid to modify their memory. She tells 33 to remember everything about Attin. This works, and 33 says that his old captain killed all the crew who saw the coordinates to Attin, and told 33 to destroy the coordinates on the wall before forgetting everything. He also says that the captain told 33 to kill anyone who came looking for the planet and begins to attack the kids. Neil steps in and throws a rock at 33 to distract him, and 33 begins to go after Neil. Jod jumps in and hits the off switch on 33 before he reaches Neil. The off switch is apparently just right on the back of 33, which is definitely extremely convenient. Maybe it was just how some older droids were made, but 33 being a droid capable of combat, it did feel rather weird for it to be as easy to find as it was. No major plot hole by any means, though. Neil then passes out from the rush of the moment, and the episode ends. Once again, this was a pretty fun episode. We're starting to get more of the plot filled out, and the characters are starting to be built up for their respective moments. I do think we are definitely going to start seeing Jod like the kids more, and he will likely be faced with a moment where he has to choose between money or the kids. I also have a theory that the supervisor of Attin might end up being an important figure in the last few episodes, maybe from the shadows. I have absolutely nothing to base that on outside of the fact that they have been mentioned, whoever it is, a few times, but they don't show them. So I feel like something is definitely going on in the shadows for Attin, but hey, I could also be entirely wrong. But anyways, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, have a great day, and God bless.